The desert groans with memory. Beneath a crimson dawn, the wind carries voices that no tongue has spoken for 50 centuries. Stones shimmer under drifting sand, arranged in patterns too precise for chance, too ancient for history. Who carved them when there were no tools, no kingdoms, no gods? The sky burned, the earth trembled, and humanity awoke to a mystery buried before Egypt's first breath. What empire fell before pyramids rose? What hands shaped the earth when the world was still learning fire? A pulse beats beneath the dunes, whispering of cities erased, truth rewritten. Tonight, the veil lifts. The forgotten return. They stand at the mouth of the unknown. The air below is cooler, metallic, tasting of centuries. Each step downward is a surrender to something older than civilization. Symbols on the walls glow faintly under torchlight, constellations that predate the heavens as we know them. Was this place built to remember or to warn? Sand trickles from above, whispering like the voice of time itself. Beneath their feet, the staircase vibrates, a rhythm in stone, as though the earth still remembers the footsteps of its first architects. At the chamber's end lies a doorway sealed in crystal. Within its translucent surface, shapes move like trapped smoke. The air vibrates with pressure. Alive, aware. Lila reaches out, but the moment her fingers graze the barrier, light surges through her arm. Visions flash, towers before oceans, voices chanting in forgotten tongues. The walls pulse. Marcus pulls her back, but the echo lingers. A civilization erased not by nature, but by choice. Night again on the surface. Around the campfire, they speak in whispers. The desert feels alive. Every gust of wind shaped by memory. Elias believes the site is older than any map of man, that the myths of the first time, the Zep Tepi, were not myths at all. Layla listens, silent, her mind replaying the images that burned behind the crystal. What civilization hides beneath Egypt's foundations? What truth did our ancestors bury to protect us from remembering? At dawn, the storm returns, but the sands do not move as before. The dunes seem to breathe, collapsing into geometric hollows. Beneath the rumble, a low tone rises, harmonic, deliberate. Lila turns to Marcus. There's understanding in her gaze now. This was never a burial. It was an awakening. As the first beam of sun strikes the buried staircase, the light refracts into symbols that crawl across the desert floor, forming one word in a tongue no human should know. Darkness breathes around them, deeper than night, older than creation. Each echo is a heartbeat of stone, measured and deliberate. The descent twists like a serpent's spine, carved by hands that knew the anatomy of the earth. Lila's lantern flares and reveals impossible geometry. Walls that curve yet remain straight. Shadows that move against light. Marcus whispers that no human built this. But the silence that follows feels like agreement. Beneath the last step, they find a tunnel lined with obsidian mirrors, each reflecting not their faces, but versions of themselves staring back. Frightened, waiting. They emerge into a cavern that hums like a living lung. Pillars stretch into darkness, each engraved with spiral constellations. Between them stands a stone altar crusted with crystalline residue, the remnants of something burned, not by fire, but by light itself. Amina steps forward, camera trembling, capturing the impossible. The constellations above match the pillars below. The chamber mirrors the heavens as they were 12,000 years ago. Layla realizes what it means. The civilization buried here watched the same stars long before Egypt dreamed of kings. When Layla touches the altar, the air changes. The hum deepens, becoming rhythm, then language. A voice rises, not in sound, but in thought, speaking through every surface. The walls shimmer. The mirrors above shimmer like water. Images flash. Oceans turn to glass. Towers collapsing under floods of light. Beings cloaked in gold, dispersing into dust. The team watches in stunned silence. History doesn't just rewrite, it breathes. This was not the cradle of civilization, it was its tomb. The light fades, leaving silence thick and heavy. Marcus breaks first. He insists they've gone too far, that this isn't discovery but intrusion. Elias argues it's revelation. Lila says nothing. She feels the pulse of the earth beneath her boots. Every vibration seems to call her deeper, toward the heart of the complex. Amina notices that her camera, though powered off, continues to record on its own. The screen flickers with symbols forming faster than she can read. The mirrors respond to the sound of their breath. The corridor ahead is narrower, the air metallic and sharp. Symbols pulse along the walls like veins of living gold. When Layla steps forward, they rearrange into patterns resembling constellations unseen for millennia. The hum returns, faster now, as though recognizing her. Marcus follows despite fear, while Amina films through shaking hands. Elias murmurs a prayer in a language no one taught him. The light converges at the tunnel's end, revealing a door carved from seamless black stone. It moves before they touch it, opening as if it had been waiting. The door parts with a sigh older than time. A corridor unfolds, smooth as melted glass, lit by veins of amber fire running through the stone. The explorers step inside and the air grows luminous, weightless. The floor itself hums, resonating with their footsteps. Shapes flicker in the glow. Blueprints of cities that never were. Constellations rearranging into maps. Voices murmur like distant thunder, telling of an age when knowledge was sculpted in light. The team senses it now. Whoever built this place did not worship the stars. They engineered them. They reach a chamber vast enough to hold a cathedral. Suspended in mid-air, above an obsidian dais, spins a sphere of liquid light, rotating silently. Symbols orbit it, rewriting themselves each second, as if translating for human comprehension. The sphere shows images. Oceans receding, mountain ranges appearing, entire climates sculpted by unseen hands. Civilization reborn again and again under one design. It dawns on them that humanity has walked this circle before, countless times. The sphere dims and projects a final vision, a city forged from crystal, encircled by seas of fire. Gigantic towers conduct lightning into the ground. People move below in ritual precision, their bodies shining with metal and sun. Then the light fractures. A blinding surge consumes everything. Silence follows. Layla realizes the architects did not vanish. They transcended matter itself. Their monuments became seeds, waiting under sand and stone until the next awakening. When darkness returns, the hum ceases. In that stillness, the team hears faint heartbeats not their own. The chamber itself lives, breathing through fractures in the stone. Marcus finds markings etched along the floor, forming a spiral that leads toward a narrow bridge. Each step pulses with light beneath their boots. The path extends over a pit of endless depth, where faint constellations glitter as if they stand above the sky itself. The past and future blur. At the bridge's end stands a pedestal carved from translucent stone. Upon it rests a disc, humming faintly, half fossil, half machine. When Layla touches its surface, lines of fire spread outward through the floor, connecting every pillar, every symbol. The structure awakens. Light floods upward in spirals, racing toward the ceiling and vanishing through cracks to the desert above. For a moment, the world holds its breath. Then the pulse stops. What was buried begins to rise again. Light spills upward through cracks in the stone, rising toward the desert sky like a reversed sunrise. The seeker feels the ground shudder beneath her boots. The whole complex seems to breathe again. From far above, sand cascades in glittering threads, revealing chambers nested within chambers, an entire underworld of geometry and song. The air hums with a memory of birth. Once, this place was not beneath the earth, but beneath the stars themselves. What if creation began here, not in heaven, but in stone? They move through corridors newly awakened, every wall vibrating with the tone of the earth's first breath. Symbols reshape themselves as they pass, spirals blossoming into galaxies, eyes opening within stone. The witness murmurs that the language is older than time itself, a record written before sound. The keeper runs gloved hands along the glowing script, tracing its rhythm like a heartbeat. The structure answers in light, as though recognizing its children at last. Beyond the tunnel lies the Chamber of Echoes. The air shimmers, heavy with scent of metal and rain. In its center stands a circular basin filled with still, black water. The seeker kneels and peers inside. The reflection is not her face but a city. The same city seen before, now whole, floating between dimensions. Towers turn slowly, connected by rivers of light. Then, in silence, the image fractures into 1,000 ripples. Creation remembers its fall. The hum deepens into rhythm. 5 tones beating like a heart. The witness recognizes the pattern, the same interval encoded in ancient temples across the world. Stone answers stone, continent to continent. The realization spreads among them. This civilization seeded the myths of every dawn. Humanity has not been alone in its rise. It has been following a design older than itself, guided by echoes buried beneath shifting sands. Then, silence again, deep, complete. The light fades, leaving only the echo of that rhythm in their chests. The seeker whispers that the place is waiting, not for them, but for the world to remember. Far above, dawn breaks across the desert. The sands shimmer as if something enormous stirs beneath, ready to rise when the stars align once more. The forgotten architects have spoken, and the earth keeps their secret still. The desert above stirs beneath a bruised horizon. Thunder rolls without clouds. Beneath the earth, the explorers follow a tunnel that bends upward, carrying the smell of salt and iron. The sound of waves echoes where no ocean should be. When they reach the end, the stone opens into a dome lit by a blue radiance like moonlight underwater. Before them stretches a subterranean sea, perfectly still, its surface shining with the reflections of stars that do not exist in the sky above. The seeker whispers that this is the memory of the flood, the one that ended the age of gods. Somewhere in that silent mirror lies the proof that the first civilization drowned itself to save the world. They build a raft from the fractured remnants of the walkway and push it gently onto the glass-like surface. The water bears their weight without sound. As they drift, the light beneath them brightens. Shapes appear beneath the surface. Columns, streets, statues, half buried in shimmering silt. A city sleeps beneath their feet, its towers crowned in coral light. The witness murmurs that the sea is not water but memory, a living archive. When the raft glides over the tallest spire, the explorers glimpse carvings of figures reaching upward, offering spheres of fire to an unseen sky. Midway across the expanse, the silence fractures. A sound like distant bells rolls through the water, and the surface ripples outward in perfect circles. The keeper peers into the depths and sees motion, vast shadows shifting far below, moving as one. Light pulses between the towers. The shapes of colossal forms emerge, not of stone, but of living luminescence. The seeker feels the weight of eyes beneath the waves, not hostile but waiting. These are not gods of myth. They are memory itself, the architects of life and fire, preserved in eternal reflection. The light grows unbearable. The air thickens until it vibrates. One by one, symbols ignite across the dome's surface, the same pattern found on the desert floor, now blazing with perfect symmetry. The witness realizes what it means. The complex is not merely a tomb, but a transmitter. The pulse begins again, rising from the deep, harmonizing with the pattern above. The sea shudders. From its center, a column of light erupts, carving through the rock like a spear, racing toward the world above. The past is calling the present home. Then, silence again, total and infinite. The beam fades, leaving only the reflection of faint dawn filtering through fissures overhead. The water has lowered, revealing the tops of broken towers now glistening in the new light. The explorers step ashore, unsure if the sea has emptied or if they have risen. The seeker turns once more to the shining ruins and understands. The architects were not gods, but ancestors who chose to become myth so that truth could survive through memory. The world above will never believe. Yet every grain of sand now hums with the song of their return. The ascent begins in silence. The corridors that once glowed now breathe faintly, as though exhausted by revelation. Every step upward feels lighter, yet burdened with the gravity of what was seen. The seeker touches the wall and senses warmth, a pulse receding into sleep. When they finally reach open air, the desert sky blazes wider than memory itself. The wind carries a low tone, part thunder, part song, echoing from horizon to horizon. The world above has changed. Dunes no longer lie where they stood. Something vast has shifted beneath. They walk toward the rising light. Around them, the dunes hum with a faint electrical tremor. The keeper lifts a handful of sand. It clings together, shimmering with fine metallic dust. The witness kneels and listens. Beneath the surface, a rhythmic pulse repeats the pattern from the depths. The desert itself has become an instrument, resonating with the forgotten code. Above, clouds gather in geometric arcs, their shadows forming symbols across the ground. The sky remembers. By nightfall, they reach an ancient plateau where wind has carved stone into fluted towers. There, embedded within the rock, they find markings identical to those below ground. The seeker realizes the pattern stretches across continents, the same geometry carved into temples half a world away. The stars above align perfectly with the shapes beneath their feet. The architects designed the earth as a single living map, each monument a nerve of one vast memory. When the first meteor streaks across the sky, the seeker feels the vibration deepen. One by one, stars flare brighter, forming the same spiral seen on the desert floor. The keeper understands. The awakening is planetary. What slept beneath the sands now stirs within the heavens. The myths of creation and destruction are one cycle. The architects did not die. They became the pulse that renews worlds. Humanity's history is only the latest verse in a song without beginning or end. Dawn returns, silent and endless. The seeker stands alone, gazing at the horizon where light meets sand. The air is still. The pulse has quieted as if the earth has drawn a final breath before sleep. Yet, in the hush, a new rhythm begins. The slow, steady echo of human hearts carrying the memory forward. The architects have not vanished. They live in every mind that dares to question the first light. The sky keeps their secret, waiting for the next civilization to remember. The wind has changed. It carries a scent of rain and salt, though no ocean lies near. Across the desert, flashes of light rise from beneath the dunes. Brief, silent, like the breath of a sleeping world. The seeker looks to the east where dawn blooms crimson. Every civilization before had reached this threshold, had stood beneath a sky ready to speak. The message was always the same. Remember. The question is whether memory itself is enough to save what comes next. They build camp near a monolith half buried in shifting dust. It hums faintly, the same tone that once shook the underworld. The witness translates a single phrase carved into its face. What is forgotten is not lost. The keeper places a palm upon the stone and feels warmth. Far above, Clouds spiral outward, mirroring the mark beneath her hand. The geometry of earth and sky closes its loop. The architect's design has awakened again, this time through those who dared to listen. Night falls swiftly. Stars ignite, forming patterns unseen for millennia. The seeker lifts her gaze and sees the same sigil that burned on the walls below, now drawn across the heavens in light. It dawns on her that the Earth's memory has moved to the sky. The architect's message is no longer buried, but written among constellations. The entire world has become their monument. Every star is a word in the language of awakening. A deep vibration passes through the dunes. From the fissure behind them, a low rumble swells into harmony. The desert floor quivers, but no terror follows, only release. Dust rises in towering spirals. The wind sings. The seeker realizes the complex below is sealing itself, returning to silence until the next age. The earth keeps its rhythm. Humanity keeps its questions. The architect's gift was never knowledge, but wonder. At the first light of morning, they depart. The seeker pauses once, turning to see the sun rise over an unmarked landscape. Nothing remains. No stones, no sigils, no trace of the revelation. Yet in her hand lies a single grain of sand that glows softly, pulsing with the same rhythm as her heart. The forgotten civilization has not vanished. It now lives within all who search. Every sunrise is a door. Every question is a key. The light has returned, waiting to be seen again.